Right now in custody, the remaining 150 are the worst of the worst. Now, we also know the president is, he's obsessed with this idea of getting them out of U.S. custody and transferring them to other countries, but we don't have an effective system of keeping tabs on them, and that is why they keep ending up on the battlefield.
And that is Congressman Ed Royce reacting to the fact that Ibrahim al-Rubeish, a former Gitmo detainee, was released during the Bush administration, was recently identified as being a spiritual leader of al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, definitely back on the battlefield. And we are back with our panel. Stephen, is this an indication that got to rethink this whole idea of releasing detainees?
Well, I think we ought to, but the president seems to be moving very quickly in the other direction. So Washington Post piece out today saying that the president wants to basically halve the number of detainees in Guantanamo in short order over the course of the next year. The problem that he faces, as Ed Royce suggests in that clip, these are the worst of the worst. They're still in Guantanamo for a reason. These are not the sort of wayward goat herders that we heard about so much in the early Bush years. I think if you look back on the experience of the Bush administration, it suggests that even the Bush administration was too lenient in letting people out, sending them to this jihad rehab in Saudi Arabia,
right.
which wasn't, we knew wasn't going to work at the time. A lot of people said it wasn't going to work at the time, and it was an abysmal failure.
Art therapy was going to work.
Art therapy,
art and sports.
Yeah.
I mean, it was preposterous on its face. And now, of course, we're seeing the threats that are presented. One very important thing that I think should be pointed out, the Obama task force, which replaced Joint Task Force Guantanamo, came up with these new categories of cleared for transfer. The Gitmo task force that did these assessments categorized these folks as high risk, low risk, medium risk. A lot of the people that the Obama folks later categorized as cleared for transfer are high and medium risk transfers. So you hear cleared for transfer and people think, well, they must be innocent, they must not present a threat. That is not at all the case, and I'm afraid we're going to learn that the hard way.
And the Director of National Intelligence, Juan, cited a 30% recidivism rate among these detainees who were released.
I think it's more like the thought is it might be as much as 30. They can confirm about 17%. And so what you've got here is a situation now where, given what's recently happened with Cuba, John, the United States hopes that a number of Latin countries, rather than sending them back to the Middle East, are willing to take these people and conduct the kind of surveillance and monitoring that we've had questions about in the past. But I think you can see that this is accelerating. It's now anticipated there'll be 5 or 6 more releases coming in next month, by the end of next month, January.
So are we're just creating a situation here that is really going to come back to bite us?
Of course we are, and we know it. This whole thing is completely illogical. In all of human history, people have taken prisoners of war, and they hold on to them until the war is over, at which point the prisoners are released. There's a reason for that. It's not really rocket science, because otherwise they will rejoin the battle. There is no reason whatsoever to release these people other than the narcissism of a president who made a promise, some kind of campaign, and also he thinks sort of his reputation, his legacy hangs on this. But why should we empty Guantanamo? It's the one place that we may need in the future if we capture a terrorist and we want information. Now, we're not going to get it in 2 weeks on a ship the way that we have it now, on the way to a comfy cell with a lawyer and Miranda rights in New York. You've got a week or 2 on a ship in which you can interrogate them. There is a need for a place like Guantanamo, no reason whatsoever to shut it. And the worst part is we know a quarter or a sixth or a third, but a significant number of these people end up in the battle. Why are we doing this?
Well, I think John McCain, as head of Senate Armed Services, now with the Republicans coming to the majority, is actually very open to the idea that we need to have some kind of legal process for handling these people, as opposed to breaking with the rules of law and just storing these people without any legal process.
We only have 30 seconds left, but the theory is being positive that all of this intertwines with the president's new moves on Cuba, that maybe he wants to empty out Guantanamo, and some people are saying could even close down the base altogether.
Well, why not reverse the Louisiana Purchase while we're at it? Look, he has no authority to do that. We have used Guantanamo since the beginning of the 1900s for strategic reasons, and we need it. Whether or not Obama thinks so or not, I think it would be unconstitutional. I think it would be a huge mistake.
All right. Thanks, gentlemen. Good to see you, and a happy holiday. Merry Christmas to all of you.